We're back on the road to City Hall. A few months ago, we spoke to a journalist and a housing attorney about their investigation into affordable housing in Westchester County. The award-winning ProPublica report found that the county was not complying with federal laws regarding residential desegregation. Now the Westchester County executive has submitted new plans that he claims will meet the federal standards, but the Federal Department of Housing has rejected that proposal as well. This is all going on while he's running for a second term and is also being mentioned as a possible Republican challenger to Governor Cuomo next year. We welcome Westchester County Executive Rob Astorino back to the program. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Errol.
And we'll get to the politics later, but let's start with the housing settlement. You came within hours, it seemed like, of a contempt citation around this whole issue of desegregating the county.
Well, no. It's two different things here, though. First of all, the contempt charge or threat would have been from the Justice Department to the court. We have been in compliance with this part of the settlement since August of last year, when the judge ruled in favor of HUD. So we have done everything that we were asked to do, and we did it 3 times just to make sure. What the federal government had asked for last week was basically that we attach on a paperclip the exact legislation which we already asked the board to reintroduce. That has already been done. The board is now deliberating, and they will decide what to do. This was over source of income legislation.
For our viewers who aren't following this stuff, I told you I grew up in New Rochelle, so right. I actually follow a lot of this stuff. Got a lot of family up there. But the legislature had passed or had introduced a bill that would have required that landlords not discriminate based on source of income, if it was coming from disability or Section 8 and so forth.
My concern was that it takes a national program, which I think is good, the Section 8 program. It bridges the gap between what somebody can afford and keeps them in permanent housing. I have no problem with the Section 8 program. This will not add any more Section 8 vouchers to Westchester, by the way. It takes a voluntary program and forces property owners to do business with the federal government. It's not a Social Security payment. This is a contract between the person who brings in the voucher and the federal government, because that property owner has to do business with the federal government and all the compliance. That was my biggest issue, making it mandatory, going from what is now a program that is their choice. That was the only issue I had, the biggest issue. And we've heard from affordable housing builders that have said if they're forced into this business model, then they're not going to build affordable housing, which will make it harder to build affordable housing throughout the county.
Well, but I mean, this goes right back to the many years of noncompliance with fair housing that led to the court settlement in the first place, right?
No, I disagree with that. I think, look, Westchester has been doing affordable housing for decades on its own. We've received over 50 awards, many of them, by the way, from the federal government and HUD. The county and all of its municipalities have been building affordable housing on their own, doing a great job. Is there a need? Of course there's a need for affordable housing. Nobody's debating that. What the federal government is trying to do now is go way beyond the terms of the 2009 settlement, and they admit that. In a letter to us, and I urge people to go to westchestergov.com and read the letters from HUD to the county. They're demanding now that the county basically go after every municipality to abolish local zoning, which in their view, any restrictions in a zoning code on height, on density, on acreage, on number of bedrooms, on watershed protected property that is the drinking water for New York City, by the way, all of those should be eliminated from zoning codes so that housing can be built at any density in any neighborhood. Now, there is a distinct...
Wait a minute.
Oh, absolutely.
I read the settlement, Mr. Astorino.
You're exactly right.
That is not at all what it requires.
That's exactly our point.
And the only reason you got a letter from HUD is that you've refused to implement the settlement that was signed in 2009.
Absolutely incorrect. You're right. That's not in the settlement anywhere. This is letters we're getting now from HUD on March 13th.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Are you doing what your critics have charged, which is finding anything like a letter from HUD and using it as an excuse to not implement the housing
Absolutely not. We are well ahead of schedule.
Why were they about to charge you with contempt?
Because they want the source of income legislation passed, and they said that we didn't do what we were supposed to do. Now, I did veto that law, but you know what? Once the judges ruled that we did have to do that, then we complied. So that we are complete compliance.
But in the year and a half that it took for you to veto it and then be ordered to implement it and reintroduce it, another year and a half without compliance with the order has gone by.
To reintroduce it is not my job. That is the county board, the
legislature.
You
vetoed it and required them to reintroduce it.
Then I asked them, as per the court, to redo it.
Okay, so you bought yourself another year and a half of delay.
No. It's the county board, by the way, doesn't have to pass this ever. That's in the settlement. The obligation was the county executive to
Right.
promote.
What are the further impediments you intend to put in?
No. Hold on. Let me talk.
Hold
on.
on.
You said it's not in the settlement, and you're right. What the federal government is trying to require the county of all those zoning things are not in the settlement whatsoever, and that is my biggest concern, and that's why we're battling.
Mr. Astorino.
Wait, Errol, hold on.
Wait,
a second.
wait. No, I'm not going to let you do that. Look,
Okay.
you know, and I know because I've read the settlement.
But have you read the letters,
you know, and
Errol? That's the important thing.
You know, and I know that the reason Scarsdale, Eastchester, Bronxville are less than 2% black and have been for many years. You know that the reason is, among other things, the zoning codes discourage or prohibit the building of apartment buildings. You know that that's what this was all about. No one is asking you to eliminate all of the zoning. They're asking you to examine it and adjust it so that it won't be discriminatory.
Errol, hold on. A couple things, big things here, okay? Number one, there is a very big difference between discrimination and zoning. Zoning restricts or prohibits or sets limits on what can be built, not who lives there. Each community, by the way, has in their communities affordable housing, apartments, high-density housing, all over the place in certain areas. Some areas say this is going to be single-family homes, not who lives in those single-family homes, but that on a quarter-acre piece of property, there's a single-family home. Now, you said that what I just said is not true. There is a March 13th, 2013 letter, a March 25th, 2013 letter, a May 13th, 2011 letter from HUD on their letterhead on the website, which specifically says the county shall begin the process of suing our municipalities because in their view, all of these zoning restrictions on height in any neighborhood, on density, on water or sewer or environmental reasons, is in their way restrictive.
Have the impact of making it harder to desegregate the county.
So
that's what the whole thing was about.
Let me guess.
Now, you
were
ordered by the court to go in and look at all of those
and
zoning.
we have. And they've rejected it 6 times.
And you have found what? You have found that nobody needs to do anything, right?
There is, that they've rejected it 6 times, by the way.
Yes.
The federal government, which means they'll go 60 times
until we reach. They think you're not being serious about what you say are your efforts to desegregate the county.
Okay, then let's pretend that they don't take the county's word for it. We did a complete zoning analysis. Pace University, by the way, was asked to do a zoning analysis. They came up with the same conclusion that Westchester did. There is no exclusionary zoning in Westchester County. Every community has within its zoning code, has already built, by the way, but also has very big sections of communities which are for higher density housing, affordable housing, you name it, multifamily housing, condos, co-ops, apartment building, etc. And they do. You mentioned Scarsdale, let's say. Scarsdale, by the way, in the main district area, which is the biggest real estate, right near the train station, most valuable, they have apartment buildings. So, there's a very big distinction between discrimination and zoning. Discrimination should not and will not be tolerated. Zoning protects what can be built.
Are you comfortable with, at the end of your first 4-year term,
yeah.
And, I guess as the history of all of this is being written, that the order that was put there to sort of make this place fairer.
Of all, it's not an order. It's a settlement. You have 2 parties. Okay. Well, but this is a big distinction.
Well, they say you've been violating at every point, and this is why it's turning into
HUD. One party in the 2-party settlement is making accusations.
No, actually, as you yourself said, you submitted 5 different analyses that
HUD rejected. HUD rejected.
That the mediator that both of you agreed to do, James Johnson, said not acceptable. Try again. Not acceptable.
No, that's incorrect. HUD is saying not acceptable. Try again, and HUD will continue to say that until we reach the conclusion that they want us to reach, not what the facts say. And we could go on for years and years. How could we be ahead of schedule? We have to build 750 units within 7 years. That's in the stipulation, right? Mm-hmm. And if we don't meet it along the way, certain benchmarks, we get significantly fined. We have been working cooperatively with each community. We would not be able to build. We have 305 units built of the 750. That puts us ahead of schedule. We had to have 300 built by the end of this year. How could we do that if these communities did not permit it, as HUD is saying? It's illogical. Now, are we coming from different perspectives, perhaps? Yes. But we are 2 parties in a settlement, and one party, in this instance, HUD, is not accepting anything that the other party does until we reach their conclusion.
So your position is you know federal housing law better than HUD does? I mean, they're charged, they're tasked with enforcing the fair housing laws.
I know a settlement, and I know what's in a contract, and I will do what's in the contract. I've said that a zillion times. I'll continue to say that. But what I will not do is what HUD is demanding, and they put it in writing, that we go beyond the four corners of the settlement, do things that are not in the agreement. That I won't do.
You know what? I think what we're going to have to do is we'll have you back on with the Department of Housing and Urban Development. We could not get them to join us tonight, but we'll ask them to come in and maybe get their perspective and yours at the same time. Let's take a break now. Coming up, we'll be joined by two civil servants, one of whom works for the Department of Sanitation, and they are both set to receive public service awards tomorrow. You don't want to miss that. Stay with us.